Hi yogis, and welcome to 10 Minute Tuesday. I am Yogi Amy here at the brand new campground we're staying at for the summer. We'll be home in Sun Prairie, but also traveling back and forth a lot to this beautiful area here in Montello. So I thought I would bring this 10 Minute Tuesday video to you from this beautiful space. We're going to be working a lot today on chaturangas and what they are, how to break them down, how to practice them, how to skip them, how to provide alternatives. Chaturanga is probably one of my least favorite poses. It's very challenging to teach because it's a high repetition thing that we do really quickly. And a lot of people just go through the motions without even thinking about, okay, what am I doing? Is this good for my body? Do I need this? And chaturangas are very, very traditional in that vinyasa flow from chaturanga to cobra or up dog. And sometimes I think tradition can really get us stuck in unhealthy ways or in places where we're not really taking care of ourselves because maybe there's updated or new knowledge that we have, and but we're still stuck in the past. I've listened and talked to so many different people, podcasts, teachers, doctors, OTs about chaturangas, how they should be done, how they shouldn't be done. So it's really up to you and your intuition or your doctor, your OT, or your chiropractor. But I'm going to walk through a few different ways just to set it up baseline for strength. It is a transition pose, and a lot of times we just zip right through it. It's one of the very few things in yoga where we're actually doing a push-pull type of a movement. So a lot of people do like it, and some people think it looks cool. So we're just going to work through what it can be and what it doesn't need to be. So I'm going to first show you the traditional way to do it, the way you'll see it in like yoga magazines and on Instagram and all stuff like that. And then I'll teach you kind of how to break it down a little bit. So you need a lot of wrist flexibility because your elbows need to be right over your wrists. So I'll show you what that looks like. So we're going to get into a plank nice and strong, pulling the crown of our head forward, getting up on those tippy toes. We'll take a big inhale in, and on an exhale, we'll lower to that halfway point, and then cobra, and then relaxation. The whole thing can be done on your knees, which is a really great way to build strength. So on your knees, really working on pulling the crown of the head forward, because when we lower down, you want those elbows to be right up over those wrists. And this can take a lot of strength, and it also takes healthy elbows, wrists, and shoulders. So what we really want to work on first of all is making sure that the wrists, we're taking care of the wrists. The wrists aren't meant to hold all of our body weight, but yet we do things like down dog and high plank, low planks. So we really want to take care of our wrists. So just make sure that you're taking a few moments before your practice and really taking good care of your wrists. And you can work on some flexibility of the wrists by just rocking forward and back a lot. And that's a really great setup for working on chaturangas, because you really have to pull the crown of your head way forward, a lot more forward than you think. So look at this angle. It's not the best angle for your wrists to have as you lower down. So a lot of times people will practice chin, heart, belly, and then lifting up into cobra. This back bend I think is much more important than the actual chaturanga, because we don't do a lot of back bends again in those traditional flows. So you'll come up in a mountain, you'll forward fold, there's a forward fold, halfway lift isn't a back bend, back to a fold, down dog is not a back bend, warrior one is not a back bend. So you don't really get a lot of those extensions in the traditional flow. So I think those back bends are super important. So I will teach you a few more ways to build up strength for chaturanga, yogi push-up. They're very commonly known as military push-ups too. And again, you can always skip them. One of my favorite ways to transition is into high plank. And then I drop my belly and lift my gaze, roll my shoulder blades back and down, pull my heart forward, belly in, tailbone pulls towards those back heels. Do not lock those elbows out. I see so much of people with their legs on the ground too. This is not up dog, this is seal. So if you do want to practice a true traditional chaturanga, your belly and your legs and your shins never touch the floor. I'll show you that again. And you'll notice when I practice, my hands are not flat because this is just a little bit too much for me after all of my years of deep tissue massages and yoga and arm balancing. So I practice upright here, so I'm strengthening my wrists. However, that took a lot of years for me to master. So I will show you high plank, and then you'll lower halfway on an exhale, catching yourself and then lifting yourself up. Your legs are strong, your shoulder blades are rolling back and down. Do not lock those elbows out. And that's the correct way for up dog. However, I don't know why people think you need to be doing up dog. I see a lot more up dogs than I do cobra. Cobra is a really fantastic way to strengthen that back and again to give a little bit of pressure to those wrists, maybe even some fists here. So you don't have to go into up dog because it looks like the coolest option by any means. So when I say flow, I talk about really what is it that you need. It could be traditional, high plank, low plank, it could be movement. But when I say flow, what I want you to do is boom, get right into your intuition. What does my body need? A lot of times those traditional vinyasa flows, they kind of get us stuck in the motions in a routine. And that's what we're really trying to get out of in yoga. So if you are really strong in the upper body in your chaturangas, maybe you pick something different. Do something that's more restful for your body. So I'll show you a few more options. So we had the knees, chin, chest, and of course, always skipping it too. Oh yeah, and then high plank to up dog to down dog is a great way too. And then we can do something that I see a lot of people do, which is kind of fun. You go from down dog and your elbows go wide and you kind of swoop down and then up to up dog, high plank, down dog. And that actually kind of feels really good. Opening up my neck and my head here feel really heavy and nice, so it's a nice stretch. Your elbows go wide. You scoop like you're going up underneath a fence, and then don't lock out those elbows, and perhaps return to down dog or a child's pose. So if I had a strap with me, I don't, and I can't improvise any twigs or leaves or anything. You could put a strap in a loop around your tricep, so when you drop down, your chest is going to get caught by that strap, and then you can really work on belly in, heels back, crown of the head forward. One of my favorite ways to practice to gain strength is the blocks. If you all have been in my classes, you know every single class you grab blocks. They are my friends. They are a great tool of curiosity, not because you're not strong enough, not because you're not flexible enough, but because we're curious about how we can use support in our practice, right? Oh, that is a gigantic, beautiful bumblebee. All right, so, and this may be tough with our body structure if we tend to be a little bit more voluptuous up here. You're beautiful. You may not be able to find a space for the block to hit, so it may be this way, it may be this way, so you may kind of have to play around with this a little bit, but what we're looking for is belly and chest for support. So we'll put our hands here and we'll kind of play. I'm going to practice on my knees first just to make sure I have these blocks aligned first. Going forward, inhale, exhale, look. Oops, I also caught my microphone. I'm going to have to move it just a little bit so I don't hit my mic, but you can see here, I'm being caught completely here, so I can really work on rolling those shoulders back and down, pulling that belly up and in, squeeze the elbows in, crown of the head forward, and then I can press back up. And that's a great way to start to build strength, is lowering down, belly in, maybe extend, press back up. And you don't have to do this stuff, you know, you can do anything that you want to do. What's a really great way to flow is to flow towards your water bottle and do hydration pose. But Chaturanga is technically a transition pose. It is at that halfway lower point where the elbows and the elbows are at 90 degrees and the triceps are parallel to that floor. People that can Chaturanga simply mean that they can Chaturanga. It doesn't mean that they're any more joyful or stronger than you are. So when you see people doing extra push-ups or you see people lifting a leg in a flow, you ain't got to do it. You're not going to learn about yourself by looking externally. You want to look internal towards the stuff that you have already inside your body, and that's where joy is. So work on Chaturanga or don't, but work on breathing and being happy. And I'm always here if you have questions. I love to be geeky about yoga and just break things down. And if I did something wrong, I would love to hear about it too. So everyone, thank you so much for joining me in this beautiful space today. I hope you have a fantastic Tuesday. Please like and share and comment. It really does help push the word of yoga out to our community. Peace in, peace out.